Solid week of practice. Three really good days, I think. We'll watch today's video and see where we are. But obviously, a big challenge going down into Tallahassee, road game, and I think our guys are prepared. It'll be loud. I'd imagine at noon. We've gotten all the preparation we need there. It's always going on the road, knowing that you're going to have noise and getting the ball off. I mean, we had 0 unforced errors a week ago at home, but it's going to be a lot louder down there than it was at home last weekend. So. Questions?
When you went into West Virginia, another loud environment for you guys, it was a shaky, slow start. How do you ensure a fast start and also get Mason into rhythm?
Call the right plays and execute on offense. Right? I mean, that's how we get them in rhythm, is call the right plays, block them up front, and execute.
When you have a freshman quarterback who has a little bit of, any freshman really, but someone who's young and has some success early on, how do you approach kind of the next week, and how do you follow things up with them to keep them level?
Yeah, I mean, I think you do it kind of like you do every position, right? I mean, nobody cares what you did last week. Okay, no one cares what you did 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. They care what you do right now. I mean, we're in a production business, and it's all about today. And what you do today on Thursday, what you do on Friday, what you do on Saturday, that's what matters. So I think that's the message every week to our kids.
You talked in the past about in 2017 when Max Brown got hurt. You said you wanted to ease Kenny into it. And in 2023, you kind of took advantage of the bye week to get Christian his first start. What does it say about Mason and where he is in his growth that you just put him in there on a regular week for his first week start?
Yeah, obviously different times, different offense coordinators. Back when Kenny took that last couple plays of the Syracuse game, when Max went down, Kenny was on the scout team. Okay, really since August, preparing for that opener, and all the way through September, we've been getting 3 quarterbacks reps. We've been repping all 3 quarterbacks on offense. So I think that's helped get him further along, closer to where we need him to be when we need him. And I think that's was he ready 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago? He's a heck of a lot. He was a heck of a lot more ready now than he was, say, week 1.
Pat, when you, in this era where players are, getting money to play, when you make a decision like you made with Mason last week to go to Mason and to have Eli, watch, do you have to, is the process different now than it was before this? Do you have to run it by some folks that maybe you wouldn't have been involved in that?
Not really. I mean, you'd like folks to know, but to me, it's about winning football games. That's our job. Again, production based. I mean, it's about winning. Who gives you the best? I don't care how much money you make. I care what you're doing on the field and producing. That's what it comes down to. And that's, I mean, so.
Right. But that happened next door, right? And they had, took somebody that if Aaron, whatever, for performance, this isn't going to happen. But hypothetically, if they were going to bench Aaron, they would have to talk to Mike. Would have to talk to Omar, and he would have to talk to Art, and because there were ramifications beyond just this game this season. Is it like that? Is that any of that happen over here?
No, there's no, the politics are politics. I mean, and I don't care if it's a kicker. I mean, we'll go back to, when Sam Scarton started over Ben Sauls back in his, it's all about, who's producing on the field. I don't care, kicker, linebacker, quarterback. It's all the same. And we're not like the National Football League. I'm sure they talk over there. But Mike Tomlin's eventually going to make the right decision and get the guy that's going to help win a football game. It comes down to who helps you win, who gives you the best chance.
Do you worry?
And we took a chance last week, right? I mean, it could have been a total disaster too. You guys would be looking at me like, "What are you doing?" It could have been a disaster, but preparation helped him get where he was.
Do you worry though that 10 years from now, it
worry
won't
about
just be personnel decisions? There'll be outside. There'll be influences on. Well, this guy's getting more money. You need to consider that.
Well, I mean, I'm not worried about 10 years from now. It's a great question. It could get there. I mean, all these guys with these big time, GMs, and you got Luck, and Luck's doing it. He's raising money. Got a $50 million donation this week. I mean, all those things, that's great. I mean, ultimately, the coach better be in charge of who's playing, and because sometimes, I guess, and I'm sure, in Stanford's case, let's just use that as an example, because it's a pretty powerful GM, I guess. He seems like he's like the head coach telling everybody what to do. It sounds like, he's on the sideline. He's right behind the head coach on games I've watched on TV. Whether it was them playing BC or whatever. But if a guy's that heavily involved, he's seeing probably the same thing the head coach does. So I think a guy like that's right there watching everything, sits in meetings. I'm sure Andrew Luck is sitting in meetings. When we have somebody that's sitting in watching practice, then maybe they have a chance to say something. I would say that might be, who's watching videotape in practice every day.
You guys have a top 2 run defense. They have a top 2 run offense. What challenges will they present on the ground?
A ton. They're going to get the 11th guy, the quarterback involved, so it's going to be 11 on 11. It won't be a 10 on. We're facing the most athletic quarterback we faced this year. We faced him before. We know he can make a lot of plays with his feet. We're going to have to keep him contained, and we got to be careful what we do. We got to run pressures. That's great, but what if it's a pass? We got to be careful there. They're probably one of the best screen teams out there in the country. I think Gus does a great job, and obviously Mike Norvell always has done a great job with the screens and unbalanced stuff. So we're prepared for all that stuff. But we're gonna have to go out and execute. They're big up front. They got big 220-pound backs, so we're gonna have to get them on the ground. They don't go down easy. So it's a gigantic challenge for us.
How do you assess how your defensive line has done this season and how they'll match up against a strong offensive line?
Yeah, we got to go out and play. We got to go play our best game. For us to stop the run, we're going to have to play the best game we've played, and we've got to be on point, and we've got to play with leverage.
You mentioned earlier this week, as it pertains to the run game, that you thought against Boston College that it was the pass game that really helped open up things on the ground for you. But just in terms of Joel's and now Jakarian playing a larger role, just how do you feel like those two have just gotten seasoned or just evolved over a couple weeks of really shouldering the load?
I think both of them have gotten better and more confidence as we've gone on. Especially Boosie. Joel's had some reps last year, but you really see Boosie kind of stepping it up. He's got talent. He's explosive, and both those guys are really good. The backs, we're happy with both those two. So we needed them to come on when they did, and they did.
Rasheem Biles leads the team in tackles, TFLs, had the big pick 6 against Louisville, the forced fumble against Boston College. How have you seen him elevate his game since last year?
I think, he was the same playmaker a year ago. He had a nice pick 6 against Syracuse. Everybody kind of forgets about that. Like, he can carry the ball, too. That was a heck of a return, against Louisville for a touchdown. That was special. I think he's a little bit more attention to detail on some of the smaller things that he's doing out there. But he was a playmaker a year ago. He's continued to be a playmaker. And, if you want to run or throw at Kyle or run or throw, where, Heem is, I think, both sides, quarterback's got to worry about, what those guys are doing. So I think the attention to detail, him reading his keys every time consistently in the run and pass game has been probably where he's stepped up. But he's been a playmaker. He's had a lot of TFLs. And what I love about him is he plays with excitement. He is enthusiastic. He's emotional, and he's fun to watch.
Kyle set a high bar for himself last year, and at least statistically, he's not on pace to reach that bar again this year. Our team's running away from him more. Do you see them not throwing to his side?
Yeah, they're not. It seems like they're not going at him as much. And again, that's why Kyle just, what he did a year ago. People ask, where can he go from there? If he can maintain it, that's great. But he's just got to take care of his business and do his job. He can't do too much. Kyle will get in trouble when he starts to do too much and knows too much. He watches too much tape. Even last night, my radio show, he's talking about reading the quarterback's eyes. I'm like, he's not supposed to be staring at the quarterback unless it's a certain defense. That doesn't get called all the time. So he needs to just do his job. That's fine. He gets excited when he's making plays. He gets excited when he's making plays, and Lovelace is making plays. So they're not selfish, and I have not seen any selfishness out of Kyle where he wants to make the play. He had a critical, maybe the most critical play of the game last week where he, punched that ball out. And I've talked about punch the balls. That was a critical, hustle play where he came over there and actually, took it out like we coach. It wasn't a giveaway; it was a takeaway. And that was a big time play. So, that was the first one that started the wave.
But Kyle can cheat a little bit sometimes just because he feels like he knows what's coming. Exactly.
Well, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
But when you start to cheat, you start to think that's when bad things happen.
When you have a quarterback who can scramble like this, is there a position group that it puts the most stress on? The DNs to be more disciplined, or the outside linebackers to keep them contained? Who gets stressed the most?
They all get stressed. So safeties get stressed too. Everybody gets stressed. When you got a guy that can, if he breaks through the D line, then the stress is on the D line to make sure he doesn't get past them. Then it gets to the linebackers, and it just trickles downhill. It goes to everybody. So I think, anybody that's on the field, it's their responsibility to get him down.
We talked to Kavir yesterday, and he's really stepped into a bigger role as of late with injuries on that side. How have you, what have been your impressions about him in this place role?
Great question. I love Kavir. I think he's done a great job. He's mature. He's taken care of his business. He studies the game, and he's made plays when he's had to. So that's, we've gained a lot of trust the last 2 games with Kavir, whether it's third down or playing back there in normal down situations. He's gotten the guys on the ground. He does a great job taking your knees out for not a big guy, what we call sweep tackle. He needs to continue to do that.
How's your defense been overall tackling this year? How would you grade them or evaluate them?
It's been pretty good, except probably, when we went down to Morgantown, I thought we played our worst game tackling wise, and that was probably the worst defensive performance of the year. But other than those, that game, the rest of them have been solid. I think we've tackled pretty well.
You mentioned Deuce Robinson being a challenge for the defense this week. Does having guys have a number of corners that are a little bit taller than average? Does having guys like Shaw like 6'3", is that helpful going against a guy like 6'6"?
Yeah, I mean, you'd much rather have a 6'3" corner than a 5'11" or 5'10" corner for sure. He's big, he's physical, he's going to do a good job pushing off on videotape. So we've got to get into him and get him before he gets started. Because once you get started, a lot of people play off coverage against him. Obviously, we like to press, and we'll do what we do. Hopefully, you can neutralize him a little bit.
Pat, if you ever got to a point where there was somebody standing behind you, if there was an Andrew Luck type person involved, would that be the sign for you that maybe it's time to move on to do something else?
Not at all. It would mean I have another head coach, assistant head coach, whatever you want to call him. It'd be great. If you can talk to Alan Green, maybe we can, get one of those guys. That's just another eyeball. It's nice to have help on offense and defense. So no, that would be not a sign at all. It'd be a good sign for the University of Pittsburgh that we got extra people to do something like that.
Yeah, but you've had, you've been here for 10 years or whatever it is now. You've had sort of the final say for forever. And it seems like in some cases, some places, that dynamic might not be the same.
Yeah, I think it's the same. I think head coaches are still going to be in control. I mean, go back next door. I mean, Tomlin is going to get what he wants done. I would imagine 90% of the National Football League, they're going to play the guys they want to play and trade the guys they want to trade, and we're going to play the guys who want. I don't think that's going to change.
Do you think the ideal guy for a GM role, or whatever you want to call it, would come from the NFL as college moves closer to what might be a pro model?
It's all preference, I guess. I mean, I really can't answer that question. It's getting the right guy, the right person that fits with your staff. I think that's the number one thing, and someone you trust, right? I mean, obviously, Luck and have they have a great relationship and they trust each other. I think it comes down to trust. Who is that guy you trust, and if you're on the same page of what you're looking for and what you need.
Good.
Anything else?